Hello, my lovelies. This is Chris Stafford, and I want to welcome everybody to the Max Show. That is Massive Abundance Exposed, where we're exposing all the badass entrepreneurs all over the world. Again, my name is Chris Stafford, and today we have the most amazing guest, Sharon Gist. I have known Sharon for a number of years. She is probably, without a doubt, you're going to love this show. She is, without a doubt, the most vibrant, most energetic, most engaging person that I really know. She brings such a light and such an energy to everything she does. And one of the things she does is she works with a company that she started called Diamond Banners. And she is making a buku money with this company. It's an online business. So if anybody's interested in trying to figure out what they want to do with their lives, if you're a baby boomer and you want to try to figure out how to start a new business, or you have your current business and you want to learn some kick-ass techniques and how to conduct yourself with mindset and everything else for your business, you have got to listen to Sharon. She will just blow your mind. But before we get started, make sure you check out all the goodies I have for you, all the free little goodies at maxbychris.com. That's maxbychris.com. And let's get right to that interview with Sharon. So we'll get on with the show. Hello, everybody, and today we have the most amazing woman who I happen to know pretty well, and her name is Sharon Gist. Sharon is from Las Vegas, Nevada. Welcome, Sharon.
Thank you, Chris. This is an honor and a privilege, and boy, is it fun to set up this go-to-meeting and do it together.
I know, exactly. Sharon, you know, I know you very well, and I know our viewers are going to know you a lot better after this, our little interview today. But what I wanted to do is I want to talk to you about your business, which to me is just fascinating. But before we do that, I'd like to talk a little bit about sort of how did you get to be Sharon Gist and where you're at right now? Because I have not met a more vibrant person in my life, and what you've done with business blows my mind. So take us on just a little bit of journey.
Well, you know, it's a kind of interesting story, and I think of it as a kind of spiraling upward to get to where I am now. Many moons ago, I was a teacher in New York City, and I was, you know, when I was like 21, I was going to revolutionize the school system, and I introduced some very innovative programs there and burned out. After about 8 years, I was a tenured teacher. I had a job for life, and it was like, oh, no way, I can't do this another 20 years. So I took a summer job typing on Wall Street to learn more about the rest of how America thinks besides the way I was thinking. And in that process, I was planning to become a therapist for children. I thought if I could get them outside the school system, I could help the kids better. Well, I was fascinated on Wall Street. I noticed all of these people who were very alive and creative thinkers. And by the way, I got their attention as I was correcting the grammar on the reports I was typing up for them, even though I didn't really know what they were saying. And I became a municipal bond analyst. I actually went kind of both sides of the street. I worked for, you know, let's see, I worked for, it doesn't matter who I worked for.
Well, what was the reason, why from teaching kids to, I'm so excited about you hitting the microphone, teaching kids to a bond analyst, how do you make that jump?
Well, it was very interesting because I had all these judgments, and I knew inside myself that if I was judging something, chances are there was something inside myself I was judging as well. And I was clueless. I had no understanding of how business worked or anything else. So I took the job originally because I wanted to learn how to type on an electric typewriter. That was why I did it. But then throughout the summer that I was in this job, I wanted to learn more about how business functions a little bit more. And my boss was curious if you had an intelligent woman and gave her an opportunity, what could happen? Because in those days, there were no women doing what I was doing. And he had this little group of women around him. So within the space of that summer, I went from being a typist to the head of the typing pool, to an assistant to one of the bond analysts, to his assistant. And at the end of the summer, when I got into graduate school and I was planning to become a therapist, I said, look, and I really had no money, no way of doing that. I said, if you're serious about making me a professional in a reasonable amount of time, I'd like to do this. So I stayed with him, and then about 3 months later, he left. So I was so unattached. I was more into the learning process than I was specifically what I was doing. So what happened was I went to another company as a municipal bond analyst trainee. You know, I had cut my pay in half from teaching, and I was just, you know, I was just learning, and I did not know the difference between a stock and a bond. I did not know anything. So I would read a prospectus literally and say, well, gee, if I knew what this word meant, I'd know what this sentence meant. If I knew what this sentence meant, I'd know what this paragraph meant. I knew nothing. And that's what I would do. I would go through the prospectus and see which are the words that I need to know what the meaning of. And then I'd go into my boss and say, what does this mean? What is assessed value? What, you know, I mean, literally, I knew nothing. And within a month or two, I was one of the strongest municipal bond analysts that they had. And that company went through a transition. They were bought by Kuhn Loeb, which is where I'd been before. So I went to Fidelity Funds in Boston on the other side. I was an analyst for buyers. And a couple of years later, every year I was doubling my income and beginning to get a bit of a reputation. And I came back to New York with a company that was actually insuring bonds. So it was a completely different place. And they had been a sleeper company. So I helped build them from $3 million to $17 billion over the next 10 years.
Wow.
And I was the sixth person in the New York office. And when I left, there were 120. But I burned out myself again on the way. And I looked, what do these two things have in common? Me, because teaching me what I was doing. You know, so I loved being in service as a teacher. What I loved about Wall Street was the business, and that I didn't feel like I was personally so responsible for the lives and the well-being of the children. But I was missing the fact that I had really had a commitment to children and advocacy for them. So when I left Wall Street, I became a licensed professional counselor. Wow. And I worked with children and families. I moved out west, started my life completely over, got a second master's degree. And I've loved working all my life. I've never I mean, the only time I probably didn't love it is when I was the teacher, and I changed it. You know, I took ownership of creating my life, and money was not the issue or particularly the object. But when I was on Wall Street, one of the things I liked about it was that they paid you. You know, I made some serious money when I was there in today's dollars, and the people around me were making probably 10 times more. But the reality of it was that the money was the byproduct for doing a job well done. And it wasn't like I loved being around people who were not afraid to spend some money too, to make things happen. So
that's great. But and then you became a counselor. Did you have a specialty as a counselor?
Actually, I did. I started out as specialist in play therapy. So I worked with very young children, and the state had a family that they had botched the treatment for. These children, frankly, had been satanically, ritually abused, and nobody understood why they were as crazy as they were. Oh my God. That's and crazy. Nobody would work with these kids. So I worked with them basically for free for a couple of years, but it established me as being able to work with very difficult kids. And then I also set up a play therapy program for a county. I set up a treatment program. It's called a day treatment program for young children, 3 to 5 year olds who had been sexually abused. Usually it takes about 2 years for one of these programs to get approved and licensed. And we were up and certified within 8 months. So wow. I was doing a really good job with that too. That was kind of fun, but it was hard being the boss, because I found that it was hard for people to be collaborative with the treatment program when they felt like their jobs were on the line with me. And it didn't even occur to me until after I left that was why there was so much resistance on the part of my staff. So in order for something to really work, I wanted everybody to have some ownership of it, to feel like it was theirs too.
Right.
And not that they were just doing a job. And I think that that kind of brings us to the whole job mentality. I mean, when I was when I left there, and my screen just went dark.
Well, I can see you fine, Sharon.
Okay, there. When I left there, I realized that what I really wanted was my own private practice. And I set up my home so that I could actually see clients out of my home. I did not work with really dangerous people. No, I didn't, because I was working out of my home. Some people thought I was crazy to do that. I also got supervision. I did not want to pretend I knew what I didn't know. I wanted support. So I had a supervision group. I had another supervisor that I worked closely with. I made sure that I could really deliver what I was promising. And I had a small private practice. I was loving my clients one-on-one. I tend to talk a lot, as you notice.
Well, I was, one of the things I was noticing, but after that private practice, though, I mean, you made this switch. Was there something in your brain that just said, okay, I want to be an entrepreneur now. I want to start this wildly successful business? Because I know you've made tons of money starting your own online businesses. What was that switch?
Well, what happened was I found that being a therapist, I actually felt like I grew myself up working with very young children, clearing any beliefs that I had about myself from my childhood, holding a space and honoring the people that I worked with. And I found that my clients were changing in nature. So it went from, and I had a lot of different kinds, otherwise I'd go crazy dealing constantly with a kind of trauma and abuse. So then I ended up working with teenagers, and then I ended up working with young women, and then I was doing some work with some young men, and pretty soon my practice was mostly adults and families, and I realized, I guess I've grown myself up here. And I also realized that I was playing a kind of small game, that I had a bigger vision for the world. I wanted to make a bigger impact than one at a time. And frankly, that 80-20 rule, it seems to be fairly pervasive. So even though people paid me for the services they received, and they stopped paying me when they were complete, so that was fine. But at the end of the day, when I look back at all of my clients, there were probably a percentage of them that didn't long-term really get helped. I mean, those children, I helped keep them at bay, but I don't know how much I really changed their lives, kind of thing. And I wanted to change people's lives. I wanted to be a stand for something greater. And the biggest risk for me, frankly, was to get into a relationship. It was my weakest point. And if I'm going to be counseling marriages, I had to learn how to have one, So during this whole time, which I hadn't said anything about, but I got my degree in spiritual psychology, a master's in California. And I was in New York the first year. The second year, that's why I moved out west. I was in Oregon, and I used to drive 12 hours each way, once or twice a month, to be an assistant at this incredible university. And I decided, well, you know what? Maybe you ought to just move to California if you meet somebody in California, or stay in Oregon, but you got to stop doing this commute because it's pretty crazy. So I ended up, a friend of mine from the university, we spoke long distance, and we decided we were going to get married. And it was like one of these intellectual decisions. So I moved to California, left my private practice.
Where's the passion, Sharon? Where's the passion?
The passion came when I decided, wait a minute, this MLM world is set up for failure. I am going to turn that upside down. Right now, 3% of the people in multi-level marketing are successful. 97% fail. I went into a multi-level marketing company in financial services, which if I couldn't do it, nobody else could either. I was in the top 100 out of 15,000 people. And after 3.5 years, my best year, I made only $14,000 or something. This is not good.
Right.
So
right. You can ignore the phone.
Ignore the phone. Sorry about that.
No worries. But
So the bottom line was I did this company and I just suddenly got clear one day. My purpose is to live joyfully in partnership with God, inspiring and leading thousands of others to live their dreams. And I realized I wasn't doing any of that. I wasn't joyful. I wasn't living my dreams, none of that. But I knew I was on the right track. Being an entrepreneur, finding the right vehicle. And about 2 weeks after I got that clarity, somebody introduced me to a personal development direct sales company where I made hundreds of thousands of dollars. I loved doing it. But again, the people around me weren't being successful, and I didn't know how to translate it. And that company eventually imploded because the founders, were clashing, and they didn't have the vision and the direction. And what I realized is that I wanted to be a soul-centered entrepreneur. I wanted to work from the foundation of spiritual principles of service, but I also wanted to make a lot of money and help a lot of others make a lot of money. So I floundered for a little bit, trying to find exactly the right place.
Well, I want to stop you right there, Sharon, because one of the things that you mentioned that really strikes me, and I think a lot of our viewers are going to really pick up on the fact that you have this amazing business right now, and I want to get into that in a second. But throughout your journey, if you will, teaching children, training bond people, being a spiritual psychologist, and then going into a personal development company, this common thread to me seems to be that you want to be in service, it's all the basis of your belief is that you want to be in service and help other people. Where do you think that came from?
It came from the place that I recognized as a child that the world had to be, that I had to have more ability to change things than it appeared on the surface. And if I bought into, you're set by the time you're 5 years old, then I would have, my life was a mess. I came from a very, very dysfunctional family, let's put it that way. And my little sister died when I was about 7 or 8. My mother died when I was about 13. And I wanted to, I just knew there had to be more than this loneliness and upsettedness that I was living. And I decided that and I loved learning. I love knowing that I can make changes. And it was a light bulb that went on for me when I took 100% responsibility for everything in my life. I had an exercise that I was doing in a workshop once where they said, tell your worst victim story and convince your team that you really were a victim. And then they had you turn it around and say why you really weren't a victim, how it served you. And I was the only one in the group who could tell the story so powerfully that they bought it. They bought into my victim story. And then it was incredibly empowering.
Well, you are persuasive.
What?
You are persuasive.
Well, I didn't even know that. But what was really valuable to me was to turn it around and see all the gifts I got from my sister's death and my mother's suicide, frankly, that I was able to move forward. All of who I became and the strength that I have came from the loving. I have incredible family. I have 4 sisters who I adore. I have an oldest one and the youngest one that died. And being able to move through our lives, I mean, with the kind of childhood we had, we could have all ended up in mental hospitals or jail or on drugs, and none of that.
Like half of America, Sharon, like half of America.
Well, we are just incredible women. I am so impressed by my older sisters. And so the service came as I realized I had privileges. I mean, when I was on Wall Street, I realized that I had automatic privileges just frankly by being white and pretty. Sorry. And I thought, this is crazy. I want to be able to make a positive difference. So frankly, my first company, I hired a whole staff of Black women in the typing department. They had the only Black person in the entire company had been in the mailroom. I actually changed the color of the company.
I love it. I love it. Touche.
And part of it is that I believe in people. I believe that people want to make a positive contribution. They just don't know how.
Hmm.
And the reason that they fail in business is that they reach out to two people and they get two no's and they go, oh, this is hard. Or they get somebody into a business and and that person doesn't do anything or make any money. And they say, I don't want to talk people into something and then have them lose their money. I mean, that happened for me when people were giving me $20,000 for products and then enjoying the products, but not making the 20,000 back. I didn't feel good about that. and I know that the law of attraction is about feeling good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think what's really cool too about what you're doing with this is, I frequently ask people what's their passion in life. And to me, you being in service and helping other people is really your passion. And it just comes through so vividly.
Well, Chris, it surprises me to realize how true that is. I am doing something now that I never in a million years would have thought I would do. I am having more fun and working a bazillion hours doing it. and it's happening in a whole new way. And it's almost like everything that I've been doing is lined up. It's like I went from kind of teaching social work to business, divorcing myself from, in my opinion, being of service, then going back to being in service as a counselor, but in a very small, contained way, and then going back into business in a way that, frankly, I lost my shirt, financially.
Uh-huh.
But I made a ton of money and I lost a ton of money. Let's put it that way. And now I've got it all combined. I'm being in service. I'm in business. I have the potential to make unbelievable amounts of money that I can't even, if I said it, you would like, your eyes would glaze over. But what I see happening in the next 6 months, I'll never look back again.
What do you think you can make in the next 6 months, maybe on a monthly basis?
Honestly?
Yeah.
100 to 200,000 a month.
$100,000 to $200,000 a month. Wow.
Absolutely.
And Sharon, this is all about you being in service at the same time. It's a great segue because you mentioned to me that you actually had, the failure rate is like 90 or 97% for online businesses that you're talking about. And you've actually managed with your current business that you're talking about right now to actually change that to a 70% success rate, which just blows my mind. Tell us about this business. Your business.
This is the last three things I've done. I've been raising that. I was up to 60% success and duplication with a very expensive product for a while. But then I worried about the other 40%. This one is so affordable that anybody can do it. And I'm teaching people to be leaders in a way I never could before.
Well, this is amazing to me because I know online businesses, 60, 70, whatever that percentage is, that is unbelievable. And kudos to you.
Fun.
And the name of this company, I believe, is Diamond Banners, right?
That's right.
Diamond Banners. Tell us a little bit about Diamond Banners.
Well, Diamond Banners is actually an advertising vehicle. Okay, it's there's a zillion entrepreneurs. I don't know about you, but I have spent tens of thousands of dollars trying to drive traffic to various websites, various businesses. Mm-hmm. This allows people to buy an advertising center one time and put up text ads, banner ads, and login ads. So the login ad, when they log into the website, a whole website comes up and a person can click on that. So they have advertising for life. And wow. You can come in at a $100 or $300 or $700 level, and you get more ads. At the $100 level, you get one of each of those ads, I believe. Wow. And at the $300 level, I think you get 6. At the $700 level, you get 25. So what happens is you can get, not only can you get this advertising,
For a
which is
low
cheap
cost,
and
which is low
awesome.
cost of entry too.
Exactly. I mean, my first week using these ads, I had 8 new customers in another business. So is my $300 well spent? You bet.
That is amazing. You are like the online marketing guru. I can't believe it.
I
I
am
hate
so
using that
not
word
that.
guru.
I am technically, you saw how long it took to get the sound to work on my computer.
That's too funny. Before I forget, and I'll mention it again at the end of the show, but your website is diamondbannersforwealth.com. Is that correct?
That is my presentation site about diamond banners, and they'll need my code 30104.
Okay, so that's diamondbannersforwealth.com, and the code's 30104.
And 4 is the word, FOR. Thank you. Yes.
Okay, excellent. Well, tell me, with Diamond Banners, I mean, it sounds like you have just incredible potential, and you have this potential to bring all these people under your tutelage, which I highly recommend because Sharon, as we talked about, being in service, she is just truly remarkable. But what is your next big plan with Diamond Banners and with this company?
Well, here's the thing. Besides the advertising, it has a paid plan associated with it that I originally would have thought would have been very difficult. But what the paid plan does is that you buy your advertising center, and then you bring 2 other people to buy their advertising center, and you get 2. We don't want you to have a bazillion people out wide. We're wanting you to, quote, build it deep. Can you still hear me? Because I just got...
Yeah, I can hear you perfectly.
Okay, I just got some message on my machine. So you bring in 2, you help them bring in 2, you help them bring in 2. And in the first 3 weeks of our soft launch, I think I have over 100 people from my 2.
Well, I think you're using the law of attraction too, Sharon, because nobody's better at it than you.
Well, what also happens is you move through different levels. So you get more advertising for that initial amount that you put in. If you come in at $300, you bring others who come in at $300. If you come in at $100, you bring others at that level. But then you have more spaces to move and you don't make as much. So I recommend people come at $300. If you come in at $700, and you know other people who will, you're going to move a lot faster. But the bottom line is I get paid at each level. So I'll get paid 400, 1,200, 2,800, 10,000,
Wow.
16,000. So, and then it automatically moves me into the next level. So what actually goes in my pocket, I want to be real clear here, is if you came in at the $100 level, at the end of it, you have 100. If you come in at the $300 level, the minute you come out of the top of it, you have 500 in your pocket. At the next level, you have 1,300 in your pocket and you are entered into the next level. I'm already there. My first week, I've gone up to the triple diamond level, which they'll see about when they go to that diamondbannersforwealth.com with 30104. But when you get through that, you have 4,500 in your pocket, and you optionally can join the blue diamond. And at the end of that, you'll have 7,500 in because it will re-enter you, and you go into the black diamond, and you have 12,000 in your pocket. So what I'm picturing happening is that I will cycle the triple, the blue, the black over and over every month. There is no promise. This is not a corporate call. This is not what corporate says. But at the momentum we've got, I see it cycling on all those levels. So 4,500 plus 7,500 plus 12,000. That's not a bad income, but I see that happening to me 3-4 times a month,
Wow,
which
that
is how I'm
amazing.
getting up there.
And listen, for all of our peeps out there that are watching this thing and you're looking at trying to get into a new business, or you're thinking about trying to become an entrepreneur, let me tell you, run, don't walk to Sharon Gist, because she can turn you on to some big dollars, let me tell you. And full disclosure, I have to tell everybody here that Sharon and I have had cocktails together in Scottsdale. So, I've known Sharon for a little while. It's just amazing talking to you. But this is an amazing opportunity.
One other thing that I want to say about passion, okay, Chris? Because when I left teaching, my passion was children, but it was killing me because I was too attached to it. When I went to Wall Street, I could care less about what was going on, except for the learning. The passion was the learning. I didn't quite realize that at the time. And in doing the network marketing businesses over the last 12 years, I had a passion for personal development. I loved that. But again, I felt very attached to other people's results in a way that impeded my growth. What I would never in a million years have thought that this little program that I'm doing that is so simple and that everybody can do would catch my imagination the way it does. And the reason it does is that it is simple, that I am actually touching lives and people are making money. And it doesn't require you to be any kind of internet genius. It doesn't require you to, my potion's better than your potion. Everybody can do whatever they're doing successfully and be more successful at that and also bring in a ton of money. And that's the beauty of it. It's
I think the beauty of it for me is not only the money, but it's also that big word, the operative word there is simple. It's got to be simple. It's got to be simple. Let me ask you another question, Sharon, because I'm so inspired by you and you have the greatest energy, as I mentioned before. But I have to ask you, what's the one thing that you really don't like to do? What's your biggest weakness?
Organization. So that organization is probably my biggest weakness. If you saw my bedroom right now, where I also have my office and have too many things going on in one space, with piles of paper and lists of phone numbers, that is probably has cut my income in half.
Really?
Probably more than that. Getting on top of that so that I love your professionalism, Chris. I love the way when we were setting this up, you wrote me emails to say exactly what you were wanting and expecting and helping me to get set up for it. Your organization and your follow through, your professionalism, boy, that's what I miss from corporate America. Is have it, and I don't have my secretary anymore. I think maybe I need to buy one.
Well, stop! You're gonna make me blush. But as a result of that, what would be your advice to potential viewers that are going to be watching this right now?
First of all, I think there's anything you want to do is worth going through the learning curve to do it. When I started, I'm a little older than I might look. You can tell that this career that we've just been talking about, let's just say it's over 40, 50 years.
Oh, I was going to say that you were about 30. Yeah.
And what I've learned, when I went to Wall Street, the biggest lesson I learned is that I can learn anything. Literally, I did not know the difference between a stock and a bond, and I left a senior vice president of a company. Okay, and with a national reputation. When I started this, I barely know how to do emails. I still am not very technical. And there are things that I have put off doing because I don't have the technological skill yet to do them. So one, I wouldn't let anything stop me, and I would play more to my strengths. But I would also say that having clarity about what you want, why you're doing it, and moving forward directly towards that, then the obstacles move out of the way. So we were determined to do this morning, and we just found a way through the obstacles to make it happen. I wanted a presentation for Diamond Banners, so I created a tool, which you're going to have listed up there. But basically, I have a tool that's presentandmentor.com, where people can join me and actually have that presentation that I created. So I'm not doing the same thing over and over again and not able to really help my people. I'm not wasting time doing a repetitive task. And so for me, the discernment is, what is a repetitive task that I can easily hand off to somebody, or that I can get into a good habit of maintaining myself? And what is something that's really going to go for the money, for the building, what's going to really help the next person towards success?
And I think I love that, because I think the key there, what you're talking about, is having the passion and the mission and the vision behind what you're going to do. Because I know so many of us have started businesses where, oh my God, it looks like quick money, or it looks like great opportunity, but you don't really have the passion, or you don't have the feeling or the behind it. and the whole thing goes to a hell in a handbasket, and you're wondering why 6 months later you haven't made a dime. And
There's one more thing about that too, is that you want to have you want to think big. And at the same time, you want to have a small enough action step in front of you that you can do it. If I thought that I have to bring in 2,500 people to make any money, well, I'd be defeated before I even started.
Right.
But knowing that I can bring in two, and there's at least two people out there, everybody knows at least two people who want to make a little more money or who want to drive traffic to a website, or both, right?
Right. Uh-huh.
So if all I have to do is find two of those people, and all they have to do is find two more of those people, then I'm well on my way. Now, I can also think bigger, though. What if I found somebody who has 100 or 1,000 of those people? Well, obviously, I'm going to move a lot faster if I find one of those people. So in thinking bigger, my radar expanded. And guess what? I'm now bringing in more of those kinds of people. In the past, I never could have done that. And what I'm looking to do is to also turn over responsibility to others. There's a part of me that wants to do it all for everybody. And then then that's very disempowering. They think that they can't do it if I have to do it for them. So I want them to see how simple it is to take over and to be the leader. And that's what I love about what we're doing in Diamond Banners, because I'm there to support. And yet each person is like sharing with those two people, oh yeah, well, this is what she did with me. This is what I can do with you, and help those two and help those two. So what happens is you think ginormously. I am picturing in my head the $1 million house that I know exactly how I want to build it and configure it and what hillside it's on and exactly how that would take place. I am also picturing teams of hundreds of people coming in and joining us. And at the same time, I'm on the phone with the one person who has one person who has one person, and they find another and another and another. And it is enormously satisfying to focus on the individual person in front of me, while also having the vision and the dreams and the goals to make it worthwhile. Because sometimes I'm on the phone a lot during the day. Sometimes I'm working hard, but there's another woman who just came in who works a bazillion hours, but she knows a lot of people. And she brought in 8 people in the last day. And I helped them get started.
Wow, that is terrific. That is terrific.
I want to make one more plug also for Diamond Banners, because I have seen a similar program that was not as effective, and a real key in it was that the owner of Diamond Banners is absolutely service driven. After he got all the basics set up, I had a party last week in Las Vegas, and I thought there'd be about 30 people. There were actually 20 that showed up. He flew in from Arizona in order to be with us and share his vision with our small group. And he has bent over backwards, treating me with my small 100-person group, which is relatively small, exactly the same as he treats the people who have 2,500 people following them in. And as a result of that, my team is so empowered and enthusiastic that they're turning into that 10,000 person team. Wow. Not because we're hounding them or we're dismissing anybody because they're too small. We're actually giving people the same honoring and consideration that each of us wants. And if they know they can be successful, they put money in their pocket in the first week or two, boy, are they ready to share it with other people.
That's amazing. That is amazing. You know what? I think what's really cool about that too is a lot of people that are doing online marketing and online businesses right now are working from home. And I've seen a lot of people that don't have that kind of support. And when you're at home, you're sort of like on this little island. And if you don't have the support and you can't engage with other people that are really going to support you, like Sharon Gist does, then, it's all for naught. It's really not going to work out. But Sharon, I just want to thank you. I mean, I've never seen, aside from the fact that I've known you for quite a while and you and I have had just amazing good times. But the thing that blows my mind too is that you have actually found a way, and this is really difficult as an entrepreneur, but to marry your passion, your mission of serving others and working with people like one at a time, but yet couple that with the fact that you've got this amazing ability to really envision and develop these huge visions. I have seen pictures of Sharon's house that she's going to build in the desert. So I love it. She has got this huge vision, but at the same time, she really brings it down to a level where she really wants to help people. And Sharon, knowing you and talking to you is such a delight. I want to thank you so much for your time.
Me too. I love hanging out with you, Chris. It's always inspiring and uplifting and a reminder of the partnership. And that is probably the last thing when you talk about passion. What makes this so different for me is the partnerships. You give me a partner working with me side by side, and I absolutely soar. And I realize that people working from home can get lonely if they don't have partnership with their mentors or with their team. And we create that partnership all along the way. And you are absolutely at the top of my list. I love working with you.
Back at you, my dear. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. We'll talk to you real soon.
Okay. Thank you very much.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Thanks, everybody, for today's show. That was amazing. I absolutely love working with Sharon Gist. Sharon is truly amazing. Make sure you check out her sites. Sharon is just truly amazing to me because she has this amazing ability, this vision, this phenomenal vision that she can create for herself and for other people, working with other people. But really, like we talked about in the show, bringing it down to a level where you feel like you're working one-on-one. You have the support with your online business, if that's what you want to do, to really blossom with Sharon. So I really hope that you should check out her sites. Her site right here that you can see is joyfulwealth.com. That's an amazing site to get to know Sharon a little bit better. The business we talked about is Diamond Banners. Diamondbannersforwealth.com is her website, and you do need a code, and that code is 30104. And she also has another cool site, which is presentandmentor.com. So do me a favor, check out Sharon's sites. I'll put this all down in the show notes that you'll see below, but also most importantly below, show me some love. Tell me what you think about this. Shoot about it on Facebook, make some comments. I'd love to hear what you think about Sharon and what you think about the show. And again, lastly, don't forget to check out maxbychris.com and check out all kinds of free goodies that I have for all my peeps. So appreciate you joining us today. I love you being here, and may massive abundance be yours. Thanks so much.